Greetings. For those of you who don't know it, Kevin Hart, the famous comedian, just had a mega accident. While he was in the passenger of his car, the car rolled over and was destroyed, and we're going to feature that in our thumbnail. Today's show focuses on the concept that there are 5 reasons why he needs a Model 3 instead of the Barracuda or Chrysler product that he chose. And it just so happens that behind me, we actually have a sort of a new version of the vintage Chrysler vehicle that we can use as a backdrop, but it's helpful in reviewing the point of the transition from sort of old technology to new technology and the performance potential. This is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Thanks once again for joining us. If this is your first time on our channel, welcome. If you're a repeat visitor, welcome back. Wanted a special shout out to our subscribers and our Patreon supporters. Your presence makes a huge difference, and it's greatly appreciated. Today's talk is a little unusual for the type of process we use for our show. One of the things, I'm a car fanatic, have been doing a large number of sort of auto reviews for 30 years. And one of the sort of subtexts of the fact of a car crazy person like myself is the fact that there's an enjoyment of technology, enjoyment of cars, and the combination of them coming together to deliver fun vehicles is awesome. So what I wanted to dive into today is the fact that there's a famous comedian named Kevin Hart who, I guess a friend of his was driving his convertible Barracuda and rolled it in Mullholland Drive in the greater Los Angeles area. Half of our viewers are actually from California, and half of those are actually in Southern California, so Mullholland Drive is well known to folks as one of the best testing grounds for cars at high speed anywhere. I have to admit that in a similar situation in Southern Cal, while testing a Toyota Supra, I almost got in a similar accident when I allowed a friend to drive a test vehicle that I had. So I have a strong appreciation for what happened there. So, part of the game here on this show is, if you'll take a look up behind me, the Charger that you see there is sort of a modern day look at an older car as a way to get differentiation for products by Chrysler. And I think, that's sort of the midline version, but the higher line version is running 500 horsepower, sounds vicious, burns a lot of gas. And we weren't even going to include those in the reasons why Model 3 Performance was a better way for Kevin Hart to go. There are 5 sort of core reasons why I think Kevin Hart actually needs a Model 3 Performance. Now, the issue is this. The first and foremost issue is that in the world of high-speed cars, the power goes to the most powerful, fastest vehicle out there, which is what everybody wants to own and what everybody wants to tame. So the first reason is that while these cars, including the Charger behind me and the Barracuda, are running 400 to 500 horsepower of engine, they still are subordinate performers to the Model 3. The Model 3 with nice tires is doing about a 3.2 second 0 to 60. The vehicle behind me is in the late 3s in terms of its performance, and the Barracuda is fast, but still at 3.5, 3.5 0 to 60 for $1 million car. I think that he's giving up performance speed-wise in that process. The second component of why we think a Model 3 Performance is the way to go versus the 2.4 second Model S at the top of the line is a baby steps, Kevin. 3.2 seconds 0 to 60 is extremely fast. Once you get up to a 2.4 of the Model S, I think it's appropriate for both you and your driver to have a little bit of race course training because what's kind of happening is that when the Barracuda and many of those performance cars were built, they're actually built with the focus um, on straight line speed that you would be able to experience on a rented track. So on a Saturday night, a lot of folks will head out and put their cars on the track, so they could fire them up and give them a good workout in a straight line. And you're taking a vehicle like the Barracuda that's built for straight line activities and trying to run. Now, I was not going to include the noise that we're hearing behind us as this car has fired up, but actually it sounds like he's bumping 500 horsepower into that hood, and he's in that sub 15 miles per gallon zone. So yeah, fun car, sounds good, it's mean, but the 3.2 second Model 3 would actually blow the doors off of the Charger that's you're going to see pulling out of the driveway behind me. The next issue that comes up is a concept called balance. So when you have a car and it's properly balanced, most of the Tesla vehicles are in essence four-wheel drive cars because the weight balance that's running front to back of the car is running along the floor. So why this is significant is, and here we go, it's taken off and gone for now. So one of the other issues that's going on with a vehicle like that is that the engine is a lot heavier than the rear of the car, so it's sort of a front heavy vehicle. All of the Teslas are running with batteries along the floor, so you have balance front to back at basically a 1-to-1 ratio. So 50% of the car's weight is in front, 50% in back. When you have that balance, it's a lot easier to control and get performance from in that process. The third reason why Kevin needs to make this transition is he makes so much money each year, but money isn't an issue, is that he can get all that performance while at the same time getting 100 miles in essence per gallon and being able to charge his car up at home. And so the other benefits when it comes to cutting down on pollution and still enjoying lower costs all around, while we have all these other performance parameters, I think is pretty awesome. We're not going to cover maybe the seventh point, which is when you're doing a Barracuda, those vehicles are in excess of 30 years old, and all the parts have to be fabricated or gotten from special places, whereas those newer vehicles have the advantage of basically brand new and plenty of parts and support for those vehicles versus having to wait long periods of time to get anything fixed, even though there's a wide open space in there for reach arounds to make repairs. It is a major headache to go through that process. We were actually glad to know that he survived the experience, but there's also other challenges that come with toting around old safety techniques, including rollover preparation and airbags and all these other issues. There's a large number of sort of new innovations that are baked into newer vehicles, even ones like Tesla, with fewer moving parts that allow you to not end up with major issues. So the other thing I would also suggest is whether it's a Model 3 or a Barracuda, if you've got the money to run around like Kevin Hart in areas like Mullholland, do it with a race car driver versus with someone that you like that wants to show off that he might be able to get out there and do something in a fast car. The reason is that I've actually taken a couple of race car classes to understand how to manage the body lean and how to handle turns at very high speeds regardless of the type of car you're in. And when it comes to Tesla, we're in a situation where you have an excellently balanced car with all kinds of modern support for your driving technique, and frankly including autopilot if you even wanted to engage it to help you manage the vehicle. And in this case, clearly Kevin Hart did not have that support. So I was sort of fascinated by the whole idea of doing this show on the Barracuda and the high performance older vehicles because it really, it's sort of a sad moment for me to see us move into the era when the really cool muscle cars that were really fast have sort of outlived their usefulness because we actually have a situation going on here where these are great vehicles, they're beautiful, they perform awesome, there are all these good attributes to them. But at the end of the day, even though the power numbers that those vehicles are putting out are awesome, taking a Detroit car built for going in straight line at high speeds and trying to push it into places like Mullholland with high numbers of turns, etc., is a recipe for disaster as we've just experienced. So, Kevin, I know this is bad news, and the $1 million Cuda that you bought is an awesome car, but just be aware that a $65,000 Model 3 performance with all the bells and whistles, including the Bang & stereo, would be a lot quieter than what you just heard from that vehicle. Way better gas mileage. The performance in the turns is going to be extremely much better. And after you have a race car driver take you through that Mullholland stretch a few times at high speeds and explain how to manage the weight of the vehicle, whichever type it is, I think we end up with you enjoying your car better, not having an accident and living through it, but also enjoying some G-forces. Now, once you've had a chance to mess with the 3.2 second Model 3 for a while, you'll be ready to step up to the 2.4 second 0 to 60 top of the line performance Model S. Bigger vehicle to manage, but the graduation will allow you to pull G-forces even in turns that you currently can't do. So we like your comedy, we enjoy your comedy, we want to see you live through it, but it's a really good opportunity for you to make the transition into the Tesla family. I'd also recommend that, as you'll notice in our thumbnail, the car was destroyed and it was a soft top, beautiful blue soft top matching the body of the car. I think the soft top might be also bad for your health when you're doing these performance trips. So you might want to think about the hard top plan as well, because that rollover cage is much better situation. And by the way, if you choose to fix that CUDA, there is something called a roll bar that you did not have in the car. So that might even be another sort of addition to your current vehicle that allows you to enjoy it more. And if you happen to be in this rollover situation again, you know, there's a nice amount of metal, either a roll cage or a roll bar to support the vehicle's body integrity being maintained despite the accident that occurred. So I think it's, you know, there's a one last concept that I wanted to throw out, and it's called heel and toe while double clutching. So most of the muscle cars of that era actually have a stick shift. And so as you all know, when you change gears, you depress the gear lever, switch gears, and then engage that gear on a systematic basis. The problem is when you do it in that order, it slows down your ability to accelerate rapidly in turns. So a technique was called heel and toe while double clutching, which means that you actually have your toe, and so your foot is engaging both the gas and the brake at the same time, so that it minimizes the amount of time it takes between shifts. And therefore, it's another reason why race car drivers in a Mullholland situation could actually get the car to perform better without necessarily rolling over, because there are ways you can use the engine to control the speed of that car in the turn along with the brakes, so that you're engaging the full arsenal of capabilities to avoid rollovers like this. Another reason why the Model 3 is a terrific car, because you have all that acceleration and power without necessarily having to shift gears. So it's all available to you instantly for that takeoff and it's harder to generate and control the power when you're in that Barracuda. So this show is really a sort of shout out or a heads up to the fact that there's a real transition happening with places like Tesla showing at the best case how electric can improve dramatically your driving experience and allow novices like us to engage cars at a level where only race car drivers could manage a car, a well-balanced car, in a driving situation, particularly when we're on windy roads. So for those of you who want to have an interesting experience, try taking a test drive, maybe use one of the rental vehicles if you come into Los Angeles Airport, and try driving Mullholland, and then try a rental of either a Model S or a Model X or a Model 3, and I think you'll be impressed by the road handling ability, and it's being so much better with the electric Model 3, as well as how power is delivered, etc. At any rate, this is kind of a fun version of our show today, targeting those that don't think that electric cars are ready to enter the supercar realm. It's a lot lower price, a lot better performance because you get to use all that power in the low end, and because of the balance of the vehicle, you end up with a lot better driving experience that has safety elements built in to all the capabilities the car has, and risking your life, even though it's a great car, completely not necessary, and can really have a good time. I noticed Jerry saying hello, and I noticed a few of you, the others of you saying hello as well. We definitely appreciate your taking time out to do so. Wish you a happy holidays, which it is in the United States, on September 2nd, 2019. James, thanks for your comments about the good shot. Jerry, thanks for the comment regarding Formula E racing. The thing I keep thinking about with racing in electric vehicles is it's great to see them out there racing. What I was actually looking forward to is the transition to electric, because it's horrible to see all these cars at Indy or wherever they may be doing lap after lap at high speed and wasting so much fuel. So I think Formula E racing is awesome to watch. It's great to see comparably skilled cars so that the drivers can, show off what they can do. But I think it's better for the planet if we make this transition to electric as soon as possible. And frankly, I think it'd be fun to see Elon bring out the newest car, the Roadster, and maybe run it against some of the NASCAR vehicles to show those guys what electric can do and help force the change going forward. I agree, NASCAR I think would be great. Looking forward to all of your comments after the show. Please remember, don't forget 25 leg lifts per leg. Don't go to bed within 2 hours of eating, preferably 4 hours to avoid acid indigestion. Remember, the Tesla Model 3, I think performance is a way better deal than your Barracuda. So those of you driving the Barracuda, it's time for you to roll over into the modern days and enjoy more performance. This is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Tschüss, German, au revoir, French, lehitraot, Hebrew, Choda Hafez, Farsi, Ni hao ma, Chinese, Zdravstvuyte, Russian, enough respect, walk good man in Jamaica. Have a great day, and thanks for joining us, and bye for now.